how nothing is in English because it's developed by hackers for hackers. But it's basically the same thing, but no bling, no nothing, and it's free to web hosts. And it gives you just what you need to do to modify your website and do stuff. And I believe that Webmin is a links-only technology. So just putting it out there that it does exist. And then other control panels, well, GoDaddy has one of their own. It's awful. Don't go with GoDaddy. You'll kill yourself. DreamHost, I've heard of it. It's decent, I've heard, so I'm not going to say that they're bad, but I probably wouldn't use it. I'd probably jump the steep hill before I went to DreamHost and use their stuff. And then for the dedicated servers and virtual private servers are out there, you typically get Virtuoso, Parallels, and Solus VM, which are 3 excellent control panels. And basically, they allow you to reboot your server, see how much bandwidth you use, and how much disk space your server is using. Very basic stuff, and it just basically allows you to reset your server in case there's an emergency of some type. So, moving on here. Why do I discourage UB hosting? Well, one, I don't know why they would host the main Buffalo website on the same server their Linux students use, but that's beyond me. It's very stiff, there's no type of control panel, it's all SSH through UB Unix. You can put files on there, it might work if you're lucky, the permissions are awful. And most companies take an hour to respond, not with UB. Usually about 3 to 6 days, if you're lucky. I've seen it go 2 weeks. And Windows file permissions are on a links-based system because they tried to mingle Windows and Linux together, and it doesn't work that great for them, but basically that's why permissions are awful on Linux. Suggestion, well, they're coming up. But first, Windows or Linux hosting. Unless you need a Windows-only technology, don't get those. You're overpaying for something you don't need. But I will say that Exchange is really nice for email, and I will say that ASP.NET being pre-compiled is a great language, although I haven't really played much with it. Linux servers run most of the internet. I no longer have a really good source, but I'm pretty sure that it's still the case that Linux is there for the internet. And it has better uptime because I can update Linux from a huge version to another huge version. I don't have to reboot. Windows XP to Windows 7, probably a couple of reboots if you're lucky, and after it's done, it probably won't work. So you can tell how much I hate Windows, but I still use it. Updates usually don't need reboots in Linux. It's very rare that I have to reboot one of my Linux servers. My Windows servers, every 30 days on Black Tuesday, which is the second Tuesday of the month, Windows releases their updates, and everything breaks, the servers need reboots, and I'm up until 5 a.m. in the morning hoping that I can get everything running again before the business day. There are admins so that will argue that Windows is better, because if Windows has a problem, it'll tell you what the problem is, and it will probably fix it for you. But it might take a little bit longer to fix, because it examines everything else while it's at fixing the problem. Disk space warnings. A lot of websites say that you get unlimited everything. It's impossible. Don't fall for it. Usually read their terms of service and it'll actually give you a physical number where you can limit your stuff to. Usually 50,000 files on the server is the limit. Probably somewhere around 10 or 20 gigabytes of disk space and a couple hundred gigabytes of bandwidth is what most providers limit you to. Signing up for a host, you're going to provide some simple information and a credit card, give them money, and they're going to give you web space, support, and a control panel hopefully, and some name servers so that you can go to your register and set them. Recommend cPanel hosts. I've had great success with my own company, probably because I run it, but I've never had a problem with my own hosting for some reason, probably because I actually have a clue about what I'm doing. Most companies don't. But I've had luck with Bluehost and HostMonster, which are basically the same thing. not shut your account off if you're using it to torrent or do illegal activities. They'll usually give you a warning if they catch you. I think they're up to about 6 million websites now. I'm not sure, but that's the last I looked at. And then there's 3IX. That's who I started with. They're very cheap, only $1 a month. They don't break the bank or anything. They give you cPanel. I've had problems with their support in recent years, but it's cheap. I don't expect a lot. So if you're just buying hosting to get used to it, maybe play around with it, 3IX is definitely a good option to consider. So now getting into FTP. There's 3 types of FTP. There's File Transfer Protocol, there's SSH File Transfer Protocol, and then there's File Transfer Protocol over SSL sockets. FTPS works very similar to how HTTPS works. Basically, sending traffic over the internet, encrypted, and then another side encrypts it and does something with the files. FTP is totally unsecure by itself. I recommend not using it if you can, just because anyone can intercept that communication and there's your files in your hands. Especially if you got a MySQL file that has some configuration information in it, like a password, that could really hurt you. And then there's SFTP, which is my favorite protocol. Basically, it's FTP over an existing SSH tunnel. Since SSH is already secured, because it's a remote terminal session, it's quick, we can just open up an additional tunnel or virtual file transfer means over the SSH tunnel that we already have and push files through it. So SFTP is really great. And there's a couple of clients. First, there's FileZilla. It's great. It's my favorite one, so that's the one I'm really going to mention. But FileZilla opens unlimited connections to the server, so if you're trying to transfer 4,000 files up to the server, make it go faster, it'll open up 4,000 connections without a problem. Most servers have firewalls in front of them that will block you after you open up 50 connections. So you usually want to prevent the FileZilla from opening up as many concurrent connections. 8 is a really good number. I put down 5 just to be safe. Usually though, when I'm transferring files, I'll transfer a single zip archive to the server. And I wonder if my laptop works yet. Hey, it does. What do you know? It's amazing what happens when you try stuff and reboot. Get onto the Mac. So, if I can bring files over, maybe I can mirror the display. That would be better. Displays and mirror. Gather windows. Oh, I see. Here we go. That was easy enough. So here's FileZilla. Basically, at the very top here, you're going to see something, even on the Windows version, they'll bring up a new window that'll let you connect this stuff. So here's your sites. If you type in use site here, it'll give you lots of options over here. I'm just going to connect to my SSH server. Once again, in order to use SFTP, you have to have SSH access to the server. If you don't, most hosts will provide it if you give them your driver's license to prove that you are you and not a hacker somewhere in Egypt. By the way, if you are in Egypt, you can't get to my websites because I blocked into your country. Most hackers are in Egypt. That's where all the hackers use it, and it's an entire 417 out of the internet that's there, and you're smart if you block it, and most hosts do. Just because it's trouble waiting to happen. And that's where most of your woes will come from. So notice how I selected server type, SFTP. It does support all of the protocols. And then I want a normal login, and I'm just going to log in as myself. And once I type in all this information, FileZilla is really nice at saving it for me. I just might go over to the Advanced tab. Is it? Nope. The transfer sign. And notice that there's a default, active, and passive. Usually FTP works through passive, which means that it'll go over a firewall because FTP opens up lots of ports that don't necessarily have to be open. So passive will usually work over a firewall if you want your transfer to go faster and you have a good connection to the internet. Use active because it's quicker, it's easier, and it gets the job done. So when you click connect, it doesn't know how to connect. Awesome. Probably because it doesn't know how to connect to the server. So let's see here if I can connect. DB Secure. Once again, I'm not too pleased with Mac either, but it works once in a while. So now if I connect, hopefully it will connect. And notice once again it asks me to connect to a host. That's actually a key that the server provides so that if the server changes for whatever reason and it becomes a malicious server, SSH will automatically prevent you from getting onto it without your permission. And then all of our files load, and we have access to all of our files, and our directories are in this box here, or all the subdirectories and files. So that's basically FileZilla in a nutshell. So moving back to internal PC, hopefully we can move into hyperlinks. Okay, so basically let me go to this website to show you a very quick example of why hyperlinks are bad. And notice that it's from the website from a few years ago. So we have two links here, one for Apple and one for Microsoft. Let's go to Apple. Ooh, that's how I want it. We went to Microsoft. And I did the same exact thing for the Microsoft link. It basically goes to, I really like how that works. And then Microsoft goes to Apple. And besides Apple's design, it's much nicer.